Hello, my friend. This is Existential Courage, according to Gabriel Marcel. So, Gabriel Marcel is an interesting French existential philosopher who is known for his Catholic existentialism. And he had a very different perspective on the world and therefore on existential courage than Jean-Paul Sartre, for instance. So, where Sartre saw people as competitive, lonely, aggressive competitors, where hell was other people, Marcel looks at this individualistic stance in the world as a sickness, as a problem that this civilization has. He argued that we have become just functions in our society rather than mysterious whole selves. And he believed that it was important to overcome this alienation which leads to despair. So for Marcel, existential courage is not about affirming yourself in a determined way, but rather to have the spiritual and emotional stamina to remain or become again vulnerable, open, and faithful to the values that matter, instead of letting yourself become hardened and cynical and detached in this world that often seems to require you to do that. He wrote a book called Being and Having, very early in the 20th century. I think it was 1935 or something like that. And in there, he made a distinction between problems and mysteries. And he thought that we're confusing the two. So a problem is something that is objectively an obstacle in your way that you can analyze, dissect, and ultimately solve by logic or applying technical solutions to it, like fixing a broken car or analyze data. It requires you to have skills and intelligence, but it doesn't require you, it actually stands in the way if you're personally vulnerable. But a mystery is the opposite almost. In a mystery, you are personally involved. There is no boundary between what is in you and what is in front of you, before you. So it is about love or evil or your relationship to your body. They are mysteries that we don't know the answer to, and you can't solve it by looking under a microscope. You have to think about it, and sometimes you cannot find an answer at all, and you have to let the mystery stand forever after. And it is existential courage to have the capacity to resist, to reduce mysteries to problems. He thought it took bravery to sit within the mystery, with the mystery, to tolerate the fact that you cannot solve the mystery and to not try to solve something that shouldn't be solved. Also, he believed it was important that you let yourself be moved by mysteries and transcended by mysteries and indeed transformed by mysteries. And in this respect, he spoke about disponibilité, disponibility, if you like, availability, being available, ready for the mystery, for new ideas, for a different way of feeling. Marcel spoke a lot about intersubjectivity, the space, the spiritual space between two human beings. It's very much like Buber's hyphen in I and thou. And Marcel did, like Buber, believe that true mystery and true reality can only be touched through an I-thou relationship, never by treating the world just as an object to be divided, analyzed, and numbered. So availability, spiritual readiness, is what courage requires. And what he felt is that most people are unavailable. They are not available to the mystery. They actually shield themselves. They cut themselves off, protecting their ego, and stop themselves in this way from being hurt or rejected or inconvenienced by other people. The act of courage is to make yourself unshielded, open again, vulnerable again, defenseless again. To drop your psychological and emotional defenses and to say, I am present. I am willing to be faced with your suffering, your joy, and your reality, and to learn something new. I am willing to be transformed by this relationship, by this encounter. It is about learning to endure the dark nights that this brings you to, dark nights of the soul. Marcel wrote an essay called Homo Viator, the traveler, the wanderer, the traveling human being. And in that essay, he explores what it means to move through an unstable world and to navigate that instability and not be drowned by it, but remain in control of your ship navigating it. And he shows how this is not about being optimistic, sort of superficially hoping that everything will work out okay because the economy will bounce back or somebody will sort it out. He thought that when circumstances worsen, you need something bigger than that, because otherwise you fall into despair. So the kind of hope he spoke about is an existential assertion of the soul. It is hope that is steeled by captivity, trials, difficulties, by the dark nights of your soul. It is the conviction that goodness and love are always stronger than the apparent meaninglessness and crises you keep going through. So Marcel didn't believe wishful thinking was the solution, but rather the creation of this interior refusal to let darkness dictate the state of your emotions and of your spirit. It is about taking back control of that, and this is a concept he referred to as fidelité, fidelity. It is the concept of remaining loyal to existence, to be loyal to life and to trust life in a kind of blindness of well, maybe not blindness, but a kind of persistent, determined allegiance to life. So it is about commitment. It is about commitment of yourself to the process of living, to truth, and to the vocation that you have to live out your life in the best possible way towards transcendence. It is also about honoring the other and making choices to stick with another, even when they're walking through the dark. It is about showing yourself to become like a testimony to life, to what is good, to what is right, to what is beautiful, to a lasting truth that doesn't allow your mood to just shift with difficulty and chaos, but to stand strong in the middle of your problems and to endure with life itself, and to be absolutely courageous at the core of you, in your heart, to have this quiet, big backbone that allows you to stand straight in the middle of the flood or the difficulties in this world, to stay spiritually awake and to open your arms to the mystery of the other and the mystery of life and love.